Good evening, everybody. If you could grab a seat, please. Right, as some of you may have noticed, our chairman, Julie, is not actually here with us in Northampton, unfortunately. She's joining us from home. Julie, can I just ask if you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Stephen. Thank you.
Perfect. Then, without further ado, we'll pass over to you and we'll get underway. Thank you.
Okay, just let me know what you can see of my screen. I'm assuming you can see the slides and everything. Okay.
We can see
So welcome everyone.
Slides, Julie.
Oh, can you?
No,
you should be seeing actually. Oh no, that's my background. You should be seeing the slides. You not see the slides?
No,
okay, let me unshare and restart. Can you see it now? You got the right?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent, good. So welcome everyone to the first annual general meeting of the Guild of One Name Studies, CIO, so 2023. So I hope you're all having a lovely time in Northampton and I'm very envious not to be with you. So let me just try and move the slides across. You'd never think I do these as often as I do, and I still make a mess of it. Okay, so having transferred our members from the old charity, as I refer to it, to the CIO, our agenda is a little different to usual. So, for example, there are no minutes to agree from the last AGM, and that agreement will be undertaken by the remaining members of the old charity. So whilst all the members, including the trustees, moved across to the CIO, the trustees remain members of the original charity. So that way we can hold our AGM, can agree all the material that we've got in terms of the reports to the Charities Commission and so forth. And the original charity will then be wound down and the bank account closed. So this is the agenda that we're going to cover today. And we're going to kind of have some bits done from me and some bits from in the room. So without further ado, I'm going to move to the next bit, which is the apologies. So these are the apologies that Stephen had received up as far as yesterday. And I think Stephen's got some more that he needs to read out.
I'm not going to stand up for this because I need to read it. In no particular order, further apologies were received from Caroline Perkins, Ellen Lindsay, Fiona Tipple, Roy Taylor, Dee Helmore, Carolyn Curell, David Burgess, Janet Few, Jeff Chu, Peter Edney, Hannah Nicholas, Richard Forte, Karen Pryor, Sheila Jelly, Peter Ailfounder, Maureen Selly, Andrea Cordani, Tony Pitt, John Holway Pitts, Andy Micklethwaite, Roger Evans, and John Caspon. And my apologies if I've mangled any of those names.
Thanks, Stephen. So during the last year, the Guild has lost a number of our members and friends who have passed away. And I'd like to invite all of you in the room and for those of us at home just to take a moment or two in remembrance of the contribution they made to the Guild and to our individual friendships with us. Thank you, everyone. So this is what the lineup looks like for the trustees for the 23-24 Guild year. There was only 6 trustee nominations out of a possible 9, which meant there was no election. In March, I alerted the membership of the results of the nominations, and we advertised via the chairman's newsletter that we could co-opt members to fill the shortfall. We've received 2 such co-option applications, and these will be discussed by the trustees at the meeting this evening, and an announcement will be made. But I would like to just thank all the trustees who have worked hard over the last year and to thank them for their service. I would like to acknowledge, though, the contribution made from all our former trustees, both the original charity and us as the CIO. And we all stand off the shoulders of those who have gone before us and walk through, sometimes in their shoes, and sometimes we find our own way forward. And I'd like to think that we continue to walk with people and make the Guild a better place, and also to bring with us the good bits of the Guild that are really important to us as an organisation. So I'm now going to go through the report to the from the trustees to the members. So excuse me if I'm looking down. I've actually got notes and things that I want to read through. So we've had our first conference since 2019, last year in Oxford, and that was well attended. Our preparations began for the Northampton conference, and as you can see, it's going to be a success. Our UK seminar subcommittee organised 3 seminars during the course of the last year, 2 of which were online, one face-to-face, but these included a family history software for your one name study in February, which was online. We then had the DNA seminar in Leicester, which was an in-person event, and the Invisible Roots was also an in-person event. Going forward, the seminar team will continue with their original format of in-person events, and they are typically roving around the country, and there's a whole variety of lineups. And I see that they've got the most recent ones on the website, so do please check out what is available in both recordings that are there and also the forthcoming lineup, and support our seminar team. So we also organise a series of webinars. Typically they're held monthly, and these are available to both members and non-members, are free of charge to attend, and are an important part of our charitable outreach. The webinars are typically structured around 5 key themes: technology tools, resources for your study, researching in, connecting with, which is where we typically connect with another society or an institution, a spotlight on, and this is a favourite one of mine because it's where we get to see in the Pandora's box of someone else's study. And we also have a discussion forum, which we've only run once, which I did at Christmas, and that I think was reasonably successful. And as I said, there is a huge catalogue of recordings from both seminars and webinars available on the website. We attended a variety of events during the last year. Most was within the UK, but not all, and there was a mix of virtual and in-person events. These were the Border Reivers Festival in Hoyk in Scotland, a Zoom fair hosted by Oxfordshire Family History Society, Family History Fair in York, a Family History Show in Buxton, and we attended virtually Roots Tech and the National Geological Society. Both of those are in the States. Several members gave talks around surnames and one name studies, all of which promote the Guild, and again these are delivered in a variety of formats and location across the UK, Australia and the United States. We could achieve none of this without the work and the support of our members. And in the case of recording in-person events such as seminars and conferences, including this one, we thank Bob Cumberbatch. Furthermore, all our publicity material is produced and organised by our marketing team and by our production manager. We continue to grow and promote our members' website project, which is part of our preservation options, something we are committed to. This enables members to preserve their studies whilst continuing to grow their studies and promote their studies. The members' website project are very supportive of members who are not experienced, so do reach out to them if you would like some support or guidance. We continue to digitise studies that are retrieved from former members or received from the family of those who, for whatever reason, are unable to continue. We have continued to produce our excellent journal under the care of Jean-Marc Bozzoni, and of course we publish our register of studies. Our website continues to be a significant part of the Guild, accessed to and by members and non-members alike, and we will increasingly try and find innovative ways to share and educate. Our website did phenomenal work for which we owe them a huge thanks. In the last year, we completed the transfer of from the Guild of One Name Studies to the Guild ICO, and that was an enormous endeavour. We wouldn't have achieved half as much of that without the hard work of a number of our trustees. And Stephen, I personally thank him, because without his work on the CIO, we would still be awaiting. So thank you very much, Stephen. So going to move to the next slide. So this was another part of my presentation. I should have moved it along, and I'm sorry. So this is looking at the split of our members across geography. And as you can see, most members are still within the UK, but it is dropping, and we are picking up members in other parts of the world. The US has grown from, I want to say it was about 15% when I first became a trustee, but I could have just made that number up, but it was certainly much lower than 52. And Australia is still at 7%, which is surprising in some ways, but not in others, because it's such a vast country. We would need significant more people to be stepping forward to run events, to attend talks and all the rest of it. So if you can help, please do come forward. And from if you're in Australia or New Zealand, please reach out to Karen Rogers. And for anyone else, please contact marketing. That's probably the best bet, and then we can filter it from there. Equally, Canada and New Zealand have a presence, and then there's the rest of the world, which is 4%. And I would like to see us having a bit more of a remit across. And if you look at this slide here, I need to get the other screen, it's a bit too small for me to read. We've got, 7 people in Spain, we've got 14 in the Republic of Ireland, some in France, and then we've got a sort of a smattering across the rest of Europe. And then we've got some curious ones, Singapore, which is great, and United Arab Emirates, Japan. So we are gaining a spot, if you like, little flags on that globe map, but I'm sure we can do so much better. So perhaps whoever does the chairman next year can get to do a similar thing, and we can have many more pins in that map. So Tracy, I'm going to hand over to you now for the financial update.
This will be even shorter than usual. Right. Really, there isn't a lot to say this year, as we have no accounts for the CIO yet. I mean, it came into existence in February, and transfer day wasn't until September, so we haven't got any accounts for that as such. But I can tell you what was actually transferred over from the old charity, so we've got an idea of what. There was £3,000 worth of assets, £19,000 worth of stock, which is mainly due to there's a stock of DNA kits that we sell. £98,000 in the bank, £31,000 in the PayPal accounts, and then there was about £2,500 worth of expenses that we had paid in advance for years in advance. We owe a total of about £29,000, and some of that is 20,000 of term renewals that we've received in advance that will be converted to income in the coming years. In the funds, so in total we have assets of £126,000, which is a fairly good position that we've been in for the last few years. In the general fund, there's 100,000, and the rest is in designated funds specifically, as in we've got a legacy that was given to us that we've got to spend on certain, just from Brian Teese, that we have to spend on keeping his study going. And really that's it. And we've managed to transfer over the gift aid registration, so that will continue and continue to be an income of at least £5,000 to £6,000 a year to the Guild. And hopefully more of you will sign up to that and we'll be able to claim even more. So if you are a UK taxpayer and haven't yet told us, please do. So I think that's about it from me. Any questions? Oh, yes. Yeah, can you just not?
Switched on. Sorry, Tracy. The question was, when I stepped down as gift aid manager a few years back, we were collecting about 11,000 a year. We're now down to 5. Is there anything the Guild can do to get it back up to the level it was?
A volunteer to take on the task. I mean, yeah, we do. Yeah. No, I mean, the drop in that is sometimes due to the fact that the membership has got older and is no longer paying tax, so that we can't claim it back. Or people that have joined us recently need to be nudged into, yeah, it's a job that needs doing.
It's back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going into the votes and the motions. Oh, sorry.
So, yeah, no, there was a question in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I missed that
No,
completely.
gift aid is only available to UK taxpayers. Carry on.
Okay. Okay, well, we're now back to the motions now, which I think Stephen is going to coordinate with Alan in the room.
Okay, so the first motion is the appointment of the independent examiner. So the motion is that ASET's audit services be appointed independent examiners for the coming financial year ending October 2023. Yeah, it should be 31st of August, shouldn't it? Just to explain that, when we created the CIO, we changed the financial year. The financial year has always been 31st of October, which actually coincided with the membership year. However, that's always presented our treasurer a slight challenge with our accountants and independent examiner to get the figures ready and signed off in time for us to have them on the website, for Alan to open the voting for members who were voting in advance. So it was always a tight thing. I think last year we were sort of within 24 hours of getting the independent examiner certificate. So what we said when we created the CIO was that we would take the opportunity to actually move the financial year end, I suppose it's backwards, isn't it, to 31st of August. So the financial year going forward, each year ends on 31st of August. So this slide is actually wrong. It should say 31st of August, but yeah, but be that as it may. So, Alan. Thank you, Alan. So we can move forward to the next vote. Julie, do you want to move the? There we go. So our next vote is on the appointment of patron. So the next 3 votes are actually all to do with what we call the honorary positions with the Guild. When we created the CIO, effectively, we have to reappoint to all these positions. So what we did, those of you might remember that last year, whilst we were in transition with the CIO, we asked the various people who held those posts if they would continue until we reach this point, which is the first AGM of the CIO, when we ask you to officially reappoint. So the first one is appointment of the patron. So the motion is that Peter O'Donoghue be appointed as patron. You'll remember that Peter has been patron since, I think, I don't know, it's about 2015 or 2016, and pardon me for not knowing which. Peter's indicated he is willing to continue in that position, and the trustees were happy to recommend that. So the vote is to appoint Peter as patron of the CIO.
So if you wish to vote for agenda item number 7, 4, will you please raise your green pieces of paper? Thank you. Those who wish to vote against? No. Those who wish to abstain from voting for this item? Thank you. I declare the vote carried.
So, excuse me. Moving on to the next one. So the next one is the appointment of a president. Again, Howard very kindly agreed to take on the role of president following the sad death of Ian. And the trustees asked Howard if he would carry on, and Howard, I think, said yes. So our motion is that Howard be appointed as president of the CIO.
Thank you. If you wish to vote for, will you please raise your green piece of paper? No voting online, I'm afraid. Thank you. Any against? If you dare. Any abstentions? Mr. Howard Benbrook. Despite that, I declare the vote carried.
Thank you. So the last one in this section is the appointment of vice presidents. So the trustees have the ability to make a recommendation to the meeting of names that we believe would be good candidates to be vice presidents, and our recommendations are Wendy Archer, David Evans, Paul Howes, and Ken Toll. So again, the motion is that those names, Wendy Archer, David Evans, Paul Howes, and Ken Toll, be appointed as vice presidents of the CIO.
Stephen, do you want to say which countries these people come from?
Well, so I think most of you, I think they're all in the room, actually. Wendy, you're here, aren't you? Wendy, most of you know Wendy. Wendy does all sorts of things. She runs the mailing list. She's regional rep for Buckinghamshire, Berkshire, and Oxfordshire, many other things as well. So Wendy is obviously UK resident. David Evans is at the back there. David, you are the representative for AFFH, which is exactly. So therefore, David is from Australia. Paul Paul Howes, I'm sure you all know, and I can't actually spot him. Where are you? Ah, there you are, Paul. So Paul is multi-residential, spending half his life in Florida and the other half sailing on the Norfolk Broads, I think. But obviously he was a past chairman and there's many, many other roles that he's contributed to the Guild. And I'm sure we all know Ken Toll. There you are. Ken's over there, who has been everything there is to be, really. But, well, not quite, but close. No, you haven't been secretary yet. So anyway, so Ken is resident in the UK.
Thank you, Stephen. Those of you who wish to vote for the motion, please raise your green pieces of paper. Thank you. Those against? And those any abstentions? I declare the vote carried.
Thank you. And last but not least is the election of the vital post of returning officer. And Alan's indicated that he's willing to carry on, which we thank you for, Alan. So our motion is that Alan be appointed as returning officer for the coming Administrative Guild year.
For those offline, I am regular in the UK. Those for? Thank you. Those against? And any abstentions? Thank you. For those of you who don't know, by the way, I actually run the online elections as well, as well as the voting in the meetings. So the online elections are a vital part. And please, the more of you that can vote online, the better it is. I think this year we've got a 6% turnout online.
Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. So that concludes the various motions that we have in front of us at the meeting, and it's time to pass back to Julie.
Thank you, Stephen. And thank you to Peter, Howard, Paul, Ken, David and Wendy, and of course to Alan for agreeing to be the various people that we look to for supporting our organisation and for the work that they do, most of which is unseen but deserves to be shouted out about. So thank you very much, folks. I appreciate it. All the trustees do. So I've got a little bit to read for this one, I'm afraid. So excuse me while I kind of shuffle my paper around. So the Master Craftsman Award is a way that we as an organisation acknowledge the contributions made by others, whether that is a contribution to helping the trustees facilitate the running of the Guild, demonstrating an excellent one-name study, either on their own or on a broader education of surname research. Sometimes the award is made in recognition of an amalgamation of all of those things. The Guild's Master Craftsman is an appointment-led group, meaning that there is a coordinator who organises the panel assess the merit of the nominations, and the panel changes each year. All Guild members are able to nominate individuals who they believe demonstrates the principles of the Master Craftsman. Master Craftsman can nominate members in the same way the wider membership can, and those Master Craftsmen are then not on the panel for that year. The October Journal announces the nomination process is open, and there's usually a window of around 2 months where nominations can be received. There is 2 pages on the website where you can read the criteria and other relevant information. In the spirit of transparency, I organised the panel. By that, I means I arm twist existing Master Craftsmen if they're happy to be on the panel for a year. The panel then receives the nominations and undertakes the assessment. The coordinator, who may at some point in the future not be me, is not involved in any of the voting or in the panel It is purely a facilitatory position. In fact, it's not even a position actually, but there we go. I get to control a spreadsheet. The results of the panel are then passed to the chairman, so the results can be announced at the AGM, which is what I'm about to do. So for the last 2 years, the Master Craftsman panel received no nominations, and as a consequence, no appointments were made. This year, nominations were received, and I'm delighted to say the following have been appointed. So Chris Braun for the Braun study, Stephen Daglish for the Daglish study and the Teeth studies, and Karen Rogers for the Lydiard and Greeley studies. So I know that Stephen is obviously in the room, Karen is remote, and I think Chris might be remote, but I'm not sure, or at least not present, possibly. I don't know, I can't see the room, so I don't know if someone can tell me.
Chris is there.
Chris is what, online?
Yeah, online.
Okay, so, well, congratulations to all 3 of you for receiving the nominations and the award. Now, your certificates are with me, which is no use to you, I know, and I'm really, really sorry. I didn't know until this morning I wasn't able to travel. So I will be posting out the 3 certificates. I had hoped to get Karen's to her via David, but I will now just post direct. So congratulations, and I'm sure people in the room would like to applaud and congratulate the people that have been nominated and received the award.
Finished.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the Guild Award of Excellence. Now, for the last 2 years, we've had, well, certainly for last year, we had a problem with the lack of volunteers. And the volunteers come from the people that have received awards in the past. However, the panel for this year met, and sadly the process was not complete in time for today's AGM. However, the results of both years will be announced and included in the next issue of the journal, which will be the July journal by then, and then certificates will go out to everybody who has received an award, and the list, and people will also receive an email from me confirming they've received an award and what they've received for on the website will be updated. So I'm sorry there's no announcement for this year. Sadly, we are a volunteer-led organisation, and when volunteers don't step forwards, it means we dry up and we just have no ability to carry on. Can you see the screen okay, folks? Because I managed to nudge something. Can you see everything okay? So the date and venue of the 2024 AGM is still to be agreed, I understand. I've not been told we've got a venue or we've got a date yet. I don't know if anyone in the room is able to tell me anything different.
No, there's no update.
Okay. Maybe it'll be in the north, who knows? Okay, so we move to any other business. I don't know if there's any questions from people that are electronically, or if anyone's in the room has any questions, this is the time.
The Guild haven't issued a media notice since 2015, when I last did the job. Is there anything the Guild can do to increase the media notice of the Guild, other than me getting back on the job?
Um, we had. We need a publicity officer effectively. The last publicity officer we had received such negative responses, I'm afraid to say, that the lady didn't like it. She wasn't happy, felt uncomfortable, and so she left the Guild, left her study, and stopped obviously being the publicity officer. It probably tells us a number of things, that we need to be open to other approaches. We need to keep volunteers, because if we don't, we cannot afford to keep hemorrhaging volunteers. That's really the bottom line of it. We have, bearing in mind I can't see any of you in the room, okay, so we have what I would say is an aging population of Guild members. So we need to be increasing the younger members who will join us, who will then be able to take over as people get older and don't want to perhaps volunteer or want to reduce their volunteering. They come through, but what we've got is we've got no one joining us and people leaving us. They stop being a volunteer, but they maybe even carry on their membership. And so we desperately need to just be looking to find ways of gaining volunteers, and publicity is, I mean, Karen knows it's a huge role that marketing are trying to plug the gaps in, and it is harder to do, but I'm hoping that we might be able to do something for Volunteers Week. I know that we have there's a week-long chain of events. I want to say it could be May actually. I need to perhaps have a look and see if we can do anything for that. But I really want us to try and see if we can just pull a group of people together who can help the trustees function with the Guild, because if we don't, the trustees that we have just become overworked, and then we drop balls, we lose things, we stop doing things in time, so that there's other things that need to happen. So that's my answer, Cliff, and I'm really sorry it's not a more positive answer, except to say, would you like your job back?
No, I just find it surprising that even after 8 years, we haven't been able to send out a single media notice, which takes about 20 minutes to do.
Yeah, and I appreciate.
We don't want to push the Guild more than we have in the past. That's all I can say. Disappointed.
No, well, yeah, I agree with you. It's disappointing, but I think that we can't be everywhere. And we need someone. These are vital posts that we need to fill. After you left, and we had a period of time where there actually wasn't anyone again. That took about, I don't know, if that was at least 4 years. And marketing and certainly the production manager took over doing bits and pieces. But of course, if people only have so long to give as a volunteer group, then you only have that time to work with. And of course, if you spread yourself too thin, then it makes it much, much harder. So if you're in the room and are able to want to be doing something to support the Guild, please step forward and just speak to one of us, or drop someone an email, or contact Cheryl, who is our volunteers lady. I don't know whether Cheryl's at conference or not, but otherwise just email her at volunteers@one-name.org, because we need volunteers, and we'll try and do better, Cliff, I promise.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Julie, but a comment from Karen Rogers in Australia. She says, we do media notices in Australia. So there's a glimmer of a hope there. And she, I think, is saying she would do Canada also. And So what did I say? Apologies. It was Diane. Sorry. It was Diane Rogers. She publishes media notices, press releases in Australia, and is willing to do so for Canada.
Hang on, she's in Canada, I think, but okay. I'll pick that up with Diane Rogers and Karen Rogers, one of who's in Australia and the other's in Canada, and see if we can work something out so we can have that better presence. Were there any other questions? Any other business?
A few comments, Julie, from the meeting chat. Several members congratulated the Master Craftsman, and there was one particular notice that says, no questions, but thank you to all the committee, subcommittee and volunteers for all you do.
Thank you very much. It's always nice to receive questions and comments and support from the membership. You know, it is important. It's an important. The Guild is a really important organisation. I feel I've been a member for over 20 years, and I volunteer because I think it's a good organisation to support. Much to my husband's horror, I'm a member of 36 geological societies, but I volunteer for the Guild and one other, which I'm kind of passively at. But it would be so easy for me to pick up a journal and think, oh, I could do that. But it's not about doing things, it's about giving back for me, and we all have our other reasons, whatever reasons it is, to giving time to the Guild or whatever charity or group we support. But it's nice that the trustees and the volunteers know that they are appreciated. So thank you for the positivity. I appreciate it, and I know the other trustees and members do. So I guess that concludes, and if there's anything else in the room, that concludes the AGM.
One more.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. For those of you who want to know about the voting tonight and online, a total of 8% of our membership voted all together. That's 193 members. So 193 members are governing the Guild at the moment. 6% voted online, 2%, that's the rest of you this evening, voted in person. And for each of the votes as follows: independent examiners, 194, no against, 3 abstentions. For the patron, 188 for, no against, 5 abstentions. For the president, 191 for, 1 against, 1 abstention. Vice presidents, 192 for, no against, 1 abstention. And for the returning officer, 192 for, no against, 1 abstention. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. I think that concludes our business, unless there's anything else anyone wants to raise or mention. I can't see what's happening in the room, so you'll need to...
Nothing from here.
Okay, in which case I'm going to close off, so I've got time to get to the trustees meeting next. But thank you, Bob, for recording and sorting out the logistics, which I'm sure was a nightmare for you, thinking I was going to be there and I'm not. Thank you to the trustees who are in the room, and to those that aren't, and for those people that have stepped forward to be co-opted. We appreciate it. Have a good time. Have a drink for me at the bar. Mine would be a very large Malibu and Coke after the day I've had. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and come out of the Zoom thing and close off for today. So thank you so much and enjoy conference, everyone. Bye-bye for now.
So next up is the quiz, and I'm looking at Alan. 8 o'clock.